Denville Station is a very busy station, with both standard and narrow gauge engines pulling their trains to and from their destinations and exchanging cargo. Andrew, the diesel engine, was busy loading coal cars. He was filling in for Benny, who was on punishment after he caused a silly accident with Chrissy. He hated it. Coal was getting all over his nice maroon paint. I can't wait till tomorrow when that Benny finally gets let out of the shed and I can finally go get my new coat of paint Ray was promising me. Larry thought the whole situation was funny and laughed as he puffed away with his passenger train. The next morning, Andrew happily left the shed on his way to the workshop to get his brand new coat of paint. A week later, Larry, Kevin, and Christian were resting in the shed when they saw an unfamiliar engine backing towards them. Ray didn't say anything about us getting a new engine, said Kevin. He must be a visitor from the other railroad, suggested Christian. The engine backed onto the turntable. Hello, said Larry. Welcome to the Southern United Railroad. I'm Larry and these are... Then they realized who it was. Andrew? Said Kevin. Is that you? Yes, said Andrew. It is me. You're not supposed to be painted like that, said Christian. You're supposed to be maroon. I know, said Andrew sadly. They didn't have any more maroon paint left, so they picked this color. It's not a bad color, Kevin said to Andrew. I know, said Andrew, but I've been maroon my whole life, and now I have this whole new color. When I was coming down the line, it seemed like the other engines didn't even know who I was. It probably just caught them off guard, Larry said sympathetically. They'll get used to it. The next morning, Ray came to the sheds to give the engines their assignments for the day. He talked to Larry, then Kevin, then Christian. When he got to Andrew, he said, and you? I don't know your name. I don't recall ever seeing you before. Andrew looked down at his coupling. I'm only kidding, chuckled Ray. I know it's you. You have to go to the yard and collect the short freight train. Andrew sighed. All right. Andrew sighed sadly and rolled out of the sheds. The freight cars had recognized Andrew, but decided to have some fun with him. Who's this big blue idiot? Said one of the tank cars. We've never seen this engine before, they said. We don't want you. We want Andrew. I am Andrew, he said to the freight cars. You are a fake, they said. Andrew's not maroon, he's blue. Andrew said nothing else. He just coupled on and made his way toward the main line. Andrew had to stop at Denville to load up the coal cars. Every engine knows that when you're loading up the coal cars, you have to stop precisely under the chute so that the coal cars can be loaded with coal. Andrew was doing fine until the freight cars began messing with his head again. New to the railway and he already knows what to do to the freight cars. He's amazing. I do miss Andrew though. The cars were making Andrew upset. He began to lose focus. Cars kept making jokes and pretending not to know who he was. Andrew then rolled too far, and instead of landing in the freight car, coal spilled all onto the rails. The freight cars laughed. Oh no, Andrew groaned. It took a while, but soon the mess had been cleared, and Andrew was on his way. He had a relatively short train, so climbing Piscataway Hill shouldn't have been a problem. But he was so upset and the freight cars were making the journey so difficult, it felt like he had a heavy train behind him. And again, he began to lose focus. Andrew was to stop at the Piscataway freight station to pick up some boxcars. But he was so upset that he had forgotten this and that he had to slow down. Slow down, Andrew. We have to go into the freight station sidings, remember? Oh, you're right, Andrew cried and put on brakes. They slid into the siding and saw the boxcars ahead. Andrew began to slow down, but it wasn't slow enough. Andrew ran into the boxcars and pushed them right off the rails. Andrew sighed sadly. The cars didn't care. They were feeling very pleased with themselves. The next morning, Ray came again to give the engines their jobs. He found Andrew at the back of the shed. Andrew, what are you doing back here? Ray asked. I'm not working today, Ray, said Andrew sadly. You what? Ray asked. I'm not working today. Andrew said again. Ray was about to rip them apart, but Larry cut in. "Don't worry, Ray," Larry said. "I'll cover Andrew's work for him." Ray didn't say anything more. He just agreed and then walked away. Kevin, Larry, and Christian set off to work. They wanted to help Andrew, but they didn't know how. Andrew stayed in the shed all day. He looked out in the yard and watching his friends working very happily. He wished he could have been out there, but didn't feel himself without his maroon paint. Later that afternoon, Andrew was still in the shed when Paul came running up. "Okay, I know Ray said you're not going to work today, but there's an emergency. The Alco PA pulling the Skylark has failed. Steve has already taken him off the train, and Emily's going to take him to the workshops on her way to the harbor, but we need you to pull the train." "But Paul," Andrew said, "I can't pull the train. Not like this." "Andrew," said Paul, being sympathetic, "I understand how you're feeling, but you have to. You can't leave the passengers stranded. Think about them." Andrew then thought about it. "You're right, Paul. I can't just leave the passengers." And then Andrew rolled out of the shed. Sure enough, just as Paul said, the Skylark was waiting in the station. The passengers were furious. They were telling Mr. McCluskey what a bad railroad it was. Andrew slipped over the switches and coupled onto the passenger cars. And then with a sharp blast of his horn, he departed. Things went smoothly as he passed through Denville. "I bet you I'll have a problem on Piscataway Hill," Andrew thought to himself. But he didn't. He went up Piscataway Hill with no trouble at all. And when he reached the top, he let out a loud blast of his horn and rang his bell. "Hooray!" he shouted. "I've done it! I've done it!" And it was all smooth running all the way to Otisville. When Andrew arrived back that evening, he found Paul, Ray, Mr. Regan, Larry, Kevin, and Christian all waiting for him. "Hooray for Andrew!" called Larry, Kevin, and Christian. "Hooray is right," said Mr. Regan. "Although I am upset with you not going to work this morning, you made up for it for rescuing the Skylark this afternoon." "Yeah, good job, Andrew," Paul added. "And," said Ray, "I made a phone call to the workshops. They have maroon paint in. You can go there and get repainted if you like. Larry already agreed to take over your work while you're gone." Andrew thought about it for a long moment. "Thank you, Ray, but I'm going to keep this paint." "You are?" said Ray, surprised. "Yes, I am. No point of taking me out of service when I've just been freshly painted." Larry, Kevin, and Christian all smiled at Andrew. And to this day, Andrew has not gone back to his maroon paint. The blue paint has actually grown on him, and he learned an important lesson. What's on the inside makes you you, not what's on the outside.